Yeah.
Well, once I did this piece, it wasn't a very good piece, but there was one thing that was really interesting about it because actually this is the piece. I never wrote about professional sports again after this piece. It was a piece about Stephon Marbury who was playing for the Nets, and he was such a miserable individual, and everybody around him was so awful.
Oh,
and I
God.
said, I'm never doing it like this again because you had to go out to that hideous place
Oh,
out there,
God.
and you had to get there, and then you had to wait around in the locker room, and they had a bad team. Byron Scott was the coach,
God.
and
Calipari, right?
no,
When Stephon was.
no, Byron Scott was the coach. It was the last year that he was there.
Oh, the last year Stephon was there. Okay.
Last year he was there.
Okay,
He was there,
right.
and they had Van Horn, they had Kendall Gill.
They had
a few players. I mean, they didn't have a terrible team. They just lost.
Yeah.
Partially because of Marbury.
And everywhere he went, Minnesota, even though they progressed, they were still up and coming team, but problems with Garnett because he wanted to be the man. Then New Jersey.
The things if you go back
Phoenix,
down
too.
Phoenix
The change they made when he was traded.
You go down through it, see the famous New York City point guard, the classic New York City player is the classic New York City point guard, right? The great New York City point guard. But you just go through it, all these guys never really made it that big. The only guy that made it that was fantastic was Tiny Archibald. And he was fantastic. And as soon as he came to the Nets, he blew out his Achilles and he never could play again. So there's something about it. I mean, like Pearl Washington, remember him?
Yeah, oh God.
Before your time. But he was he was a star.
The Syracuse when the numbers he won, and then
the
he
boys
averaged.
High guy.
Yeah.
I mean, those great high school basketball players, point guards, don't work out.
It's funny, and Rayford Austin.
Rayford
Austin's and he's played better than I expected.
He's a Cardozo guy. So,
that's
but
right.
but he's not a starting player.
He
should
starts.
Be a starting player.
Yeah, but he had a good season. He definitely improved this year under Rick Adelman, under that system, definitely for Houston.
If you think about it, there's a lot of those guys that fail.
But I got to give Stephon Marbury credit because his brothers.
What?
But the pressure.
He had a
lot of pressure.
That's true. That's true.
His three older brothers all played Division I basketball, and they didn't make it to the pros. And Stephon not just made it to the pros, but was a top 5 pick. Also, averaged around 19.5 points a game, a little less than 8 assists in his career. Even though he doesn't win games, he's had a good, successful career.
I think he's an unhappy person because of all that pressure. And it shows up in his game. I mean, I'm not knocking his talent. I mean, except for the fact that he's not a good point guard. I mean, But the thing is, Larry Brown, who's obviously was out of his mind when he's coaching the Knicks. I mean, he said that Marbury should really be a 2 guard, but he can't play the 2 at 6'3" or whatever big he is. So I mean, he's really kind of a twin. He's kind of doesn't have a position. Because as a you can't have a point guard that really wants to shoot all the time.
And that's the thing with Iverson's a very special case. Marbury would compare himself thinking that he's as good as Iverson.
But Larry Brown, when they went to the finals, Larry Brown made Iverson play the off guard.
That's right.
And I'm not saying Larry Brown is the most brilliant guy that ever lived, but he knows.
But he's won everywhere except
for New York.
Well,
he knows. How can you win with that team?